I'm on my way to Las Vegas to meet my brothers. I have to do a lot of work to take care of this hair. Wow. If I don't dry it right, the curls don't happen. Even as a pre-teenager, hair has always been important to him. Don't be jealous. It's all colored. I need it to be pretty. And then the hairnet helps the curls. If I don't want to spend the entire time blow drying.
I don't particularly enjoy revisiting Garrison's situation, but an edit came up showing Gwendolyn reflecting on that lesson. The one where she described watching Kody sob over not seeing Aurora for a whole 10 days. It hit me hard. Imagine how crushing that must have been for Garrison, watching his father break down over missing one kid while ignoring the emotional needs of the others. He was hurting, not just for himself, but for Gwen and their other siblings. We often underestimate what a gut punch that must have been, especially for those already struggling with their mental health. As for Grody, yes, Kody, but let's be honest, he's the poster child for self-absorption, armed with a 30-second memory and a knack for spewing nonsense that only serves to make him look good. Sure, talking about Garrison is uncomfortable, but it's hardly controversial to suggest that Kody's comments and behavior might have deepened the despair Garrison was feeling. No one is attacking Garrison here. And since this happened after the current season's timeline, maybe it'll be addressed if another season graces us with its presence. Aurora and Brianna, let's give them some credit. They know where the butter lands on their bread. Yanked from one family and thrust into another, with Kody shoved into the dad role without their input, they've learned to play the game. Smile, nod, act like everything is perfect. Do they love Kody as much as they pretend? Doubtful, but Robyn likely keeps them in line with the unspoken fear of what happens if they don't play along. We've got so much to dive into today, so let's not waste any time. Let's jump straight into it. Hey everyone, what's up? It's Elena here, and welcome back to my channel Reality Nexus X. Can someone break down how Coyote Pass ended up being divided so unfairly? I know Christine gave up her share when she left Kody, but how did Meri end up getting such a raw deal? What I don't get is why Kody's name is on all the lots, and why he expects a full cut when he's now effectively monogamous with Robyn. Shouldn't he and Robyn share one portion instead of each staking a claim? Here's how it allegedly went down. They bought 4 lots and Kody temporarily assigned them. The idea was that once the lots were fully paid off, they'd be resized and retitled fairly. Spoiler, that was a load of nonsense. While everyone else thought this was a shared family project, Kody was secretly scheming with an architect to design one massive house where they'd all live together, a plan that completely ignored the lot zoning rules. But of course, Kody, with his inflated sense of charm, believed he could convince the zoning board to approve multifamily housing. Delusion, anyone? And that's how we got here. One giant mess with Kody holding all the cards and Meri left out in the cold. I just have to say, watching the most recent episode, it's clear that Meri, Janelle, and Christine are genuinely happier than they've been in 19 seasons. They're laughing, truly laughing, in a way we haven't seen before. Janelle, especially, feels like a completely different person, unfiltered, bold, and honest. Meri, she's over it and doesn't give a single fuck. And Christine, she's thriving, glowing with freedom. I love to see it. That kitchen scene with Janelle and Christine was so refreshing. You can tell they're free women now, supporting each other without any of Kody's drama hanging over their heads. Let's be real, Kody loved stirring the pot, keeping them jealous and off balance. It's like he thrived on the chaos. And now, they have full control over the money they earn, and I'm sure that's a huge relief. Kody and Robyn took way more than their fair share for far too long, and honestly, it's disgusting. I've been watching the third Fundy Fridays video on sister wives, and the clip of Gwen discussing her strained, or non-existent, relationship with her brother really struck me. Oddly, it felt healing. I've held similar feelings about my own brother. Without diving too deep, I grew up with an older brother who was bigger, stronger, and relentlessly cruel. He terrorized me throughout my childhood and continued to be awful well into adulthood until I finally cut him off. To Gwen, and to anyone else who's had to disconnect from toxic family members, I see you. I'm sorry for all the times people tried to guilt you into making nice when you knew walking away was the healthiest choice. I lost count of how many times I was told, "Someday you'll be best friends," by well-meaning family members. It felt so invalidating. It's brave of Gwen to be so open about this, especially with the added pressure of growing up in a religious environment. I can't imagine the extra weight that brings. But here's the truth. We have one precious life, and time flies by faster each year. Don't waste it with people who make you unhappy, anxious, or afraid. I get frustrated when people accuse Gwen of being dramatic. We don't know what happened, and as someone who has low/no contact with certain family members, I know how hard it is to maintain boundaries, even in more understanding families. It's easy for outsiders to brush it off with, "Well, everyone has sibling issues." Sure, lots of people have older brothers who tease them, but there's a line. To Gwen, he crossed it, and who are we to tell her he didn't? To anyone who's had to make the tough choice to protect your peace, I'm proud of you. It's brave, it's hard, and it's worth it. What really went down between season 15 and 16? Firstly, Utah decriminalizes polygamy. Big news. Finally, the land that birthed Kody's brand of marital chaos is ready to welcome them back with open arms. Christine's thrilled. Her dream is in reach. Surely everyone will be just as excited, right? Secondly, Christine pitches the move. She brings up moving back to Utah. Why not? The legal shackles are off, and she's ready to return home. She expects Kody to back her up like he said he would. Spoiler, he doesn't. Thirdly, Kody's infamous flip-flop. In private, Kody tells Christine he wouldn't mind moving back. But when it's time to face the group, nope. Suddenly, it's like they never had that conversation. Classic Kody move. Say one thing, do another, and leave Christine high and dry. Fourthly, wife reactions. A mixed bag of no. Janelle, hard pass. She's firmly against the move and doesn't sugarcoat it. Meri gives her look at the mountain spiel, which, if it weren't about a crumbling marriage, might have sounded inspirational. Robyn actually makes a good point. Shocking. She's tired of moving. She also points out the irony that she was dragged to Arizona, and now Christine wants to reverse that. Fifthly, Christine's last straw moment. Kody's betrayal hits hard. She's hurt, not just because he threw her under the bus, but because she thought the other wives, especially with so many family connections in Utah, would be on board. Turns out, nope. She's alone in this. The catalyst for Christine's exit. This wasn't just a one-off disappointment. It was the final crack in an already fractured relationship. Kody gaslighting her, flip-flopping on Utah, and refusing to support her dreams. Yeah, that was the beginning of the end. The not a full marriage nonsense. Kody loves to remind us, and Meri, that their marriage isn't full anymore. Translation, they don't sleep together, and he's made sure everyone knows it. Degrading? Absolutely. But it gets worse. Christine reveals he told her they wouldn't have an intimate marriage anymore either. What's with Kody using intimacy as a weapon? It's less about love and more about control. Christine believed she had Kody's support to move back, but he bailed when it mattered. No one else was on board, and she was left feeling isolated and betrayed. The move talk wasn't just a suggestion, it was the final unraveling of their marriage. I think I've become desensitized after watching Big Love and Sister Wives. I started Sister Wives out of curiosity, and honestly, the first few seasons were pretty engaging. I didn't know much about polygamy beyond the whole Warren-Jeffs thing, and I watched a documentary about it once. That was the extent of my knowledge. So I went into the show with some skepticism. I wasn't totally on board with the lifestyle they'd chosen, but I wasn't quick to judge either. It was clear that there was a big difference between families like the Browns and, say, the ones from the Warren-Jeffs cult. As the seasons unfolded and things started going downhill, I thought, well, I kind of saw this coming. I'd started out thinking that this type of dynamic might not be sustainable, and yeah, I think I was right. But then again, maybe with a different set of personalities, it could have worked. Maybe. Then I moved on to Big Love. I'm in season 2 now, and aside from how amazing the show is, I realized it all felt eerily familiar. I started thinking, well, hell, even with a different set of personalities, it still doesn't seem all that functional. At this point, polygamy doesn't seem that strange to me anymore. It's almost like something that's always been there, and I've just gotten used to it. I don't think any less of the people involved. I personally believe in monogamy, so it's not something I would choose, but I don't judge. It's just that after watching both shows, it doesn't feel as shocking or bizarre. It just is. My conclusion? As long as the people involved are consenting adults, it's their choice and belief, and that's fine by me. I never thought I'd get to the point where this all seemed pretty normal, but here we are. That said, I'm still working through how I feel about the kids raised in these marriages. How does it affect them? That's a whole other issue I'm still trying to figure out. For polygamy to work long-term, it seems like it has to be a patriarchal system. The wives have to fully buy into the idea, philosophically and religiously, that the husband is the family leader. In fundamental Christian circles, it's ingrained that God appoints men to be the heads of their families, and the wife's role is to be subservient. Looking at the Brown family, I think things started falling apart once the wives stopped buying into Kody's omnipotence, what he calls loyalty. His version of loyalty is that his wives should follow his every command without question or debate. And, well, when that doesn't happen, it all kind of unravels. Oh man, I feel you. I'm a 50-year-old guy watching this show, and I honestly can't stop. It makes no sense, but for some reason, I'm hooked. I'm 5 episodes into the latest season, and I just can't understand why Kody doesn't man up and be upfront with his wives. Seriously, why can't he just say, "It's over"? I think it's pretty clear now what's going on. It feels like Kody doesn't want to be the bad guy, so he drags things out, hoping the wives will leave on their own. That way, he can say they betrayed the family and weren't loyal or whatever. Am I off here? I know he's not exactly a fan favorite, but come on, man, just be honest and let these women go. It's okay, you found what you wanted with Robyn. Own it, you're happy now. Move on and be a man. Tell the others what they need to hear, even if some of them clearly didn't need to wait. #Meri, oof. Kody seriously knows how to dig a hole for himself. It's like he just can't admit he failed at this whole polygamy thing. For 16 years, all the wives bought into the lifestyle, and Kody was its biggest cheerleader. Then he meets Robyn, and it's like, oh, so this is what love feels like. Suddenly, he's all in with her, and the other wives, well, they just became like sisters. I mean, he'd go over to see the kids and had zero interest in Meri or Christine. It's clear now that he can't be the one to admit failure, so instead, he makes it all about them. I'm sure the wives weren't perfect either. They probably drove him nuts at times. But honestly, Kody, just admit it, this experiment failed. Kody completely checked out of parenting once his kids started becoming independent. As soon as any of them expressed an opinion that didn't align with his reaction was basically, respect me or I'll withhold my love and attention. The only real paternal bond he seems to have is with Robyn's kids, and even then, it's all about him being the center of their world. He was only a dedicated parent when he was the focus. Kody never actually parented. He was the fun weekend dad who'd show up, play with the kids from whichever wife he was visiting, and then bounce to the next house. He never had to deal with the nitty-gritty of day-to-day parenting, things like homework, baths, meal planning, grocery shopping, or doctor appointments. Those were someone else's problem. Honestly, Kody isn't even at the Disneyland dad level. He's more like Christopher from Gilmore Girls, but worse. At least Christopher didn't almost let one of his kids die on his watch, and I use the term watch very loosely. It's clear that Kody doesn't actually care about his kids. He wanted a group of ego-stroking robots who would worship him, and now he seems totally confused that they grew up to have their own opinions. I'm honestly not sure what he thought would happen, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't that. Meri and Leon. This topic comes up so often, and it's a tricky one to unpack, especially when you're trying to think about fairness and practicality in a polygamous family dynamic. If I were a sister wife in Meri's position, I think I'd be pretty frustrated by the idea that she gets the same amount of financial resources as the other wives when she only has one child. It just doesn't seem fair, especially if you're thinking about how the budget is being split between multiple wives and kids. The whole idea that Kody would continue to contribute financially to all 18 of his kids is, of course, a given, but it still doesn't make sense for Meri to get equal funds when she has fewer financial responsibilities than the other wives. Take the school situation as an example. Leon's tuition is $28,000 a year, and Logan's is only $6,400. Meri's arguing that she should get the same budget as the others, but I'd be struggling with that if I were in one of the other wives' shoes. It's not like Meri is in the same situation as the other wives when it comes to having multiple children, and her request seems out of step with the reality of the family's financial needs. It feels a bit like a practical issue that has to be addressed. She has fewer children, so shouldn't she get a smaller share of the family funds? It's not like the others are responsible for Meri's decision not to have more kids. If I were a sister wife, I'd probably propose a more equitable budgeting system. I think each wife should get a fixed amount to cover household needs, and then a set amount per child. That way, no one feels like they're being unfairly treated because of the number of kids they have. For example, if each wife had a set sister-wife allowance, say a basic household budget, then there could be an additional per-child allocation. That way, it's still fair to each wife, no matter how many children they have. As for the college funds or other big-ticket expenses, each child should get the same amount allocated to them for their future, whether it's for university, buying a house, or starting a business. If a child gets a scholarship or bursary, that shouldn't change the original amount set aside for them. It should be a bonus, not a way to take away from the family's contribution. I think the whole thing could have been handled a lot better. Kody should have made sure that the finances were split in a way that felt fair to everyone, with clear guidelines that account for both the number of kids each wife has and the shared financial needs of the family. This whole favorite wife dynamic messes things up, though, and it doesn't help when the finances aren't handled in a way that promotes fairness and equality for all involved. Ultimately, I'd propose a system where each wife has a set budget for household expenses, with equal allocations for each child. It would mean no one is penalized for having fewer children, and everyone gets a fair share of the resources, no matter how the family dynamics shift over time. Plus, that way, when the kids grow up and leave the nest, each wife could theoretically have more financial independence. The land at Coyote Pass, which was purchased by Kody Brown and his wives in 2018, is currently divided into 5 lots. However, the division is considered unequal and has become a point of contention. Initially, Kody and Robyn Brown were allotted the majority of the land. They own 8 acres, while Janelle has 4 acres, and Meri only has 2 acres. Christine, after leaving the family, gave up her plot to Kody in exchange for the proceeds from selling her Flagstaff home. The division of Coyote Pass has been controversial, with Meri and Janelle expressing dissatisfaction. Both believe that the split is unfair, especially since they contributed financially to the family's setup in Flagstaff, including the purchase of the property. There are discussions about potentially dividing the land differently, with some suggesting that the land should be split into 3 parts, with Kody and Robyn sharing one, as they are married. There has also been speculation that Kody and Robyn might have already sold the property, though there is no official confirmation yet. Let me know what you think in the comments. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you in the next video. Take care and much love to you all.